Hi, everyone. Welcome to another webinar in our crop insurance series. Today, we're going to be doing a grower panel with some growers that have experience in some of these crop insurance policies we've been talking about for the past year, including the whole farm revenue and the NAP program. So today we've got Brandon Bell. He's the Metcalfe County Ag Agent. And then we've got Bryce Bowman. He is the owner and operator of Lazy 8 Stock Farm in Madison County. So thank you guys both for coming and helping us learn a little bit more about these policies from a grower's perspective. So first I want to start off asking you each what crop insurance policies or programs that you've participated in the past.
Let me start off by saying I am everything that I say is from a grower's perspective. I do happen to be an agriculture extension agent, but I also was a grower a long time prior to becoming an extension agent. So this is strictly from my own personal experience as a grower, and I have used the whole farm revenue policy for a number of years. I do not use it now because I've downsized my operation considerably and I don't have the amount of risk that I once had. So although it was very good to me, I don't feel like I can justify paying the premiums for my size operation at this time. Right now, I do have some minimal coverage through the NAP program, though.
And Bryce?
Yep. So I'm Bryce Bauman, and I've got a farm in Madison County. It's primarily a diversified vegetable farm, certified organic. We run a CSA, sell direct to consumers, attend several weekly farmers markets, and we do organic wholesale. So we've got lots of different things going on. We grow about 40 different crops on the farm. So it's we've got greenhouses, we've got nursery crops, we've got field crops, so lots of different things. And I think I first applied for NAP coverage after the 2014 Farm Bill when organic bioprotection was an option. That kind of made it appeal to me a little bit. It was also at the time when I was kind of growing my business and moving into wholesale markets and knew I needed some protection to kind of offset the risks that I was going into. So I participated in the NAP program, and I'm currently in this year is my first year with whole farm revenue. So I'm kind of in the middle of working through a whole farm revenue policy to kind of protect my growing and very diverse operation.
Okay, so you both have experience with the whole farm and the NAP program. So I want to know which one was easier to apply for, or were they both about the same but different?
There's a lot to both of them. I don't feel like there is as much to the NAP program myself, but I got minimum coverage, and I did not, as your coverage level increases, the way I understand it with NAP, your premium increases pretty significantly. So I did not even use my own yield records. I used records out of the book, or set numbers that they assign to crop production. I could have probably given them a lot more detail than I did and could have increased my coverage level, but I chose not to do that because of the small size of my operation. Whole farm revenue, I would advise anybody, do not wait until March 15th, the deadline to sign up for crop insurance, because you're too late then. Meet with your crop insurance advisor months before the deadline and get your policy built, because there is a lot of detail and a lot of information that goes into that policy. And it takes a lot of effort on your part and on your agent's part, and it takes a lot of time.
And Bryce?
Yeah, so I'll add to that. I was the kind of the guinea pig in Kentucky for the NAP program with organic pipe coverage. I also knew a beginning farmer, so I was had an exemption from paying some of the premiums. There's an offset for premiums if you're new and beginning farmer, so I qualified for that. The unfortunate part was that I was the first and only producer to sign up for NAP coverage with organic pipe protection, and there were no, it sounded like a great thing. You work directly with us, which is good. So it's good to, have all the things lined up that you need to participate in all the NRCS programs, to have a DUNS number, to have all your farm register, have a farm number, all those basic things that a lot of new and beginning farmers just kind of learn as they're kind of getting into the system. So signing up for NAP is a good way to just kind of get your foot in the door and get all their ducks in a row to qualify for lots of the other USDA programs that are out there that might help your farm. So I'd say, don't let that initial paperwork stop you from participating. You get that stuff lined up, and then you can qualify. You could apply for an EQIP grant. You could apply for CSP or any of these other programs that can really help you, create a stable farm business. So, I went through that, and that was the hardest thing, was being the first producer, and hopefully it'll be easier after that the state has now approved some of these baseline yields to, because all these programs are calculated off of your historical yield data. So now that we have some county data and some state data and more people participating in the program, it's going to make it easier for more people to participate. So that's one good thing about NAP is, I paved the way kind of in the state to get, some of that data built into the system, and now more people need to participate in it to help get the yield data up to where it needs to be. Whole farm revenue, appealed to me because there's less, less record keeping, less reporting, and it's based more off of your income. So that's where I am right now, and I think it's got the potential to have some good, risk management protection.
Once you and your agent get your whole farm revenue policy built and lined out, it's pretty smooth sailing from there. I had a claim in 2017. That was the first year that I took it. For some reason, I just had this idea that I would take whole farm revenue in 2017. And for the first time in my life, I had not a complete, but a pretty big disaster. And, this is still relatively new, or in 2017, it was program. And a lot of agents, a lot of adjusters just weren't that experienced in it. So we did have a little bit of a time trying to get my claim adjusted, because it was just sort of uncharted territory that the people I was working with were going through. But I think, this is becoming more popular, and I think it will continue to get easier for agents and adjusters and growers as people participate, build policies, and then have claims.
Yeah, that's a good point. With the whole farm, there's not a handful of policies every year, so there's not a lot of agents that are familiar with doing these whole farm revenue policies. But the more that people participate, the more agents become familiar. And then going back to what Bryce said about the NAP being the first one with the organic track of the NAP program, even with a lot of horticulture products, conventional methods, we don't have the Kentucky pricing, the Kentucky yield data. So we do have, I'll drop it in the description of this video. We've got some surveys any grower can take to put in their prices for NAP coverage. So they don't have to have NAP. They don't have to have any interest in NAP, but they can fill out the survey, and we can start to build some Kentucky specific crop pricing. So we'll drop those in the comments. For the next question, I kind of want to go back to what both of you touched on a little bit, And we'll start with Bryce. Since you had NAP coverage for several years, how was that reapplication process? Was it, starting over from scratch every year, or was it a little easier from year to year?
Yeah, I mean, it gets easier, and specifically with the organics, you have to keep pretty extensive crop records already. The
Yeah.
challenge is, when you have to sit down, let me back up and say one big difference that I didn't fully understand before I went into it is NAP coverage is handled through the Farm Service Agency. You work directly with your county office, and you work with the USDA staff to develop the NAP policy. And that's different from the whole farm revenue, where it is an RMA program, but you're going to a private insurance company. So that was one thing that I didn't understand right off the bat. NAP is through the FSA office, whole farm revenue is through a private insurance company, and the policy is subsidized by USDA. So they're paying on the premiums through the private. I think that's that's an important thing to know, kind of how the difference works between those two programs. With the NAP program, you get into it, you've got to define your fields, you've got to define your acreages, your planting dates, and because it's all around acreage, I don't have 10 acres of radishes. I might have an eighth of an acre of radishes. So it takes as much crop reporting for that, even a 16th of an acre of radishes, as it would for 300 acres of, corn or whatever. It's a different beast when you get into it. So you have to know that going up front. So having good solid records and a good way to keep those accurately is really important with both plans, but most importantly with NAP.
But the reapplication each year, you just kind of update things. You don't have to start over.
Yeah, you just have to, make sure that you pay attention to the deadlines for when you sign up for coverage, and then the crop reporting stuff. And now that the state has some baseline yields on the books, that should all be easier. You just have to pay attention to those deadlines and make sure you get your yields in, record all of your harvests so that you can build your yield up to what your actual yield is. Because if you're not reporting your yields, you're going to always default to the baseline county average, or 50% of the county average, or whatever that kind of baseline yield is. So you can do the bare minimum of work, but you're going to get the bare minimum coverage that's available on the thing. If you really do a good job with your reporting, you're going to benefit from that extra effort of keeping good records, doing reporting, making sure you report all of your yields, reporting your pricing. So I think it's one of those things where you're going to be rewarded for good record keeping and good paperwork through, a higher level of protection than you would have just falling to the baseline yield. So I think there's kind of two ways to approach
that. And Brandon, how was the reapplication for the whole farm revenue policy?
Reapplication was not bad. The initial year that I started this, my agent had never written one, and it was sort of foreign to all of us. But once we got everything established and put my information into the system, subsequent years, it made it a lot easier to reapply. It was not, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel every year like we had to do the first year.
Yeah, I assumed that one would be a little more intense the first year because you're covering, all aspects of your farm
right
at once. So can y'all tell me what surprised you the most about starting crop insurance, or either about the process, maybe outcomes of it?
I guess, what surprised me the most in 2017 is once we worked through all the bugs and once we worked through all the kinks, when I had a claim, once we figured it out, the amount that I got with my claim was exactly the amount that I had figured that I was due. Sometimes you'll think you're getting a certain amount back, and then you'll be disappointed with what happens. But I mean, it was cut and dry. What I was guaranteed is what I got. Got the money, didn't have to jump through any hoops, and it brought me to. I didn't make a big profit that year, but I had 60 to 65% of the revenue that I would have had off of a bumper crop by the time you counted what I sold and what I got as far as from my claim. I was at break even or even at a little bit of a profit, and it worked very smooth.
So you're not going to get rich off the crop insurance if you lose everything, but it'll save you. You'll break even or get pretty close to that.
Well,
So
I was sitting with my agent mid-year through the season, and I had flooding is what happened to me, and it just it was like the rain never ended. And I was sitting talking with him about what things were looking like as far as if I was going to be covered or not. And I was pretty nervous about it. And he said, we're not going to let you go broke. This isn't designed for you to get rich off of, but we're not going to sit here and let you go broke. It's going to be okay.
Bryce, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's right on. I mean, it's I would say, you have to think long and hard and talk to other people that have had experience with it to figure out which policy is going to be right for you. I think that the crop reporting and the acreage counts and all that can be burdensome with NAP coverage if you're a small producer. And I think there's a lot of great exemptions on both insurance policies that allow for some streamlined processes for smaller growers. I think that people, you're getting started out. If your revenue is less than $100,000, there's some really good options for some income protection to kind of help you get started and get moving, because there's nothing more devastating than raising that first crop when you're starting. I was starting out as a young person in my 20s when I first signed up for that. So it was I wouldn't shy away from trying to get set up and learn the systems early on, even if you don't think you really need the protection, so that you can start building that protection as your business grows.
Okay, what I was saying is, and things may have changed now. I've not had Whole Farm in a while, but when I had Whole Farm, you had to have at least 3 qualifying commodities in order to sign up for Whole Farm. So I used soybeans, I used beef cattle, and I used pumpkins. I also had to insure my soybeans through a regular grain crops insurance program, but they did count as a qualifying commodity for my Whole Farm. With NAP, the way I understand it, I can walk in there and I can have 1 crop and I can sign up for NAP. So if somebody does not have 3 qualifying commodities, NAP would be the way for them to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. With the Whole Farm, you got to have more than just 1 commodity, because why would you want to go through all those records if you've only got the 1?
Right.
Yeah, and I think also the spirit of Whole Farm revenue is that your farm is economically more resilient as it's more diverse. So you can piggyback it's not, your risk is not all in 1 crop, and that's what makes that product available and steady, that you can offset income through a success in a different production area. Your cattle might offset your pumpkin production or something, and that gives you some risk protection to be diversified in that way.
Yeah, that's a great point. I just want to wrap up with what would you tell growers that are contemplating crop insurance? Maybe something you wish you'd known before you started, or something that you think they should know today?
I would just encourage everybody to look into it and don't get discouraged when you see that, especially that first year, there's going to be quite a bit to it as far as getting all your information in and getting your program built, especially on the whole farm revenue. Because let me tell you, when you have a claim, when you've got 22 acres of pumpkins that have stayed underwater most of the season, that initial paperwork, that initial work, you don't think much about that when you realize that this program has just essentially saved you. So don't get discouraged. You know, find a good agent that is willing to work with you and bear some of that burden of getting that policy built. But again, start early. Don't wait to the last minute. I tend to be a procrastinator on a lot of things. This is something you cannot procrastinate on. You've got to get it going early.
And Bryce?
Yeah, I think that's right on. Get it going early, you know, take advantage of those exemptions within the policies for new and beginning farmers. You know, they'll cover 100% of the premium cost. Get started early. The business will benefit from some financial stability. It, you know, allows you to get your operation up and going and kind of on its feet to have that inherent resiliency of a diversified farm. So it's there for a reason. People just need to use it so it doesn't go away. I think that's one of the biggest challenges with any of these programs is that they're underutilized. So the state agencies aren't as familiar with them. You know, there's no other producers in their counties that do this. So it's kind of a one-off policy for many of these offices, and that's burdensome for them. So, you know, having more people that participate is going to make everybody more familiar with the program. So get out there and sign up.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's what the point of this webinar series is to get people familiar with these programs before the deadlines so they can get out there and try the policies, get experience with it, and see what works best for their operation. I want to thank Brandon and Bryce for joining us today, giving us some great information. We had a little internet difficulties, but it was a great webinar. I appreciate your insight and your perspective. And so if anyone has any questions, they can email me at dakota@kyhortcouncil.org, and I'll get those questions either to Brandon or Bryce, and we'll get you some answers. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.